Hello and welcome to this Tux Plus series Tumblr Theming 101. In this video, we're going to extend on our customization options and add a select list of fonts from Google Web Fonts. Now, before we begin, I don't want to confuse this exercise with the font appearance options. As mentioned when we started on this section about customizing a theme, the font appearance options will give you a list of fonts picked by Tumblr and stored on the Tumblr Content Delivery Network. So these web fonts are actually all internal. However, because this theme uses the Google Web Fonts and it's using the family Open Sans and Montserrat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another Tumblr appearance option called Select and create two select menus. One will be related to fonts for the body, the other will be related to fonts for the heading. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've picked some more fonts we can use for the body and some more fonts we can use for the heading. Now, I've picked these fonts for two reasons. The first being I wanted a serif font, and Merriweather is a serif font, and it's lovely. Secondly, I've picked fonts that will match each other, so Droid Serif goes with Merriweather. Also, I wanted to use body fonts that looked after the normal, italic, bold, and bold italic weights, or the 400, 400 italic, 700, and 700 italic weights. Now, the reason for this is that Tumblr uses a rich text editor, or you can even use Markdown, and both of these support the use of normal, bold, italic, and bold italic. So when you pick a web font for body text especially, make sure that it includes multiple weights and that you support all the kinds of text that could be used in your theme. So to get started, we're going to need to go to the Tumblr theme documentation. I'm going to go down to the section called drop-down lists. Now, Tumblr refers to its select appearance options as a drop-down list. However, we're just going to keep with select because I think that's easier in the naming convention. So how do selects work? Well, selects work pretty much the same as all appearance options. And the one thing worth mentioning straight away is that when you include the variable for your name select options, it's the same as the colors or it's the same as anything else we've done previously. So it doesn't copy the block pattern of the Boolean stroke if stroke checkbox options. So you start by writing your meta tag and your name and you prefix it with the word select. You then give that select a name. So in this example, the select's name is layout. After that, you have content, which is the content we would like the variable to return if the user selects this option. And then you have a title. Now, the title is what will be displayed in the list that's shown on the Tumblr Customize screen. Notice how the names for all three of these are the exact same. This is basically what links up the options to a select. So if you have multiple options in your select, you would prefix it with select and they would all use the same name. The difference is the content that we want returning and the display name for the option on the Tumblr Customize screen. So to get started, you'll need to go to your HTML, go to the head, and then just underneath our color options, I'm just going to put in a little comment, theme, select options, like so. And then I'm going to start writing my meta tags. So meta name equals, and then I'm going to call it select, and I'm going to concentrate on the body font. So do select body font, and then I will leave the content blank for the time being, and I'm going to leave the title blank as well. Like so. Now, as I said, I'm going to give three options for the body font, like so. So as I said, I'm going to keep Open Sans as that's our default, so the title will be Open Sans. Now, when you actually get a font or when you request a style sheet from Google Web Fonts, the URL itself, if there is a space in the font family name, they replace the space with a plus sign, like so. However, we're going to have to use whatever is returned by this select variable, not only in the link to Google Web Font, but also in our font family property on the body element, which is here. Google, luckily, will fix up the space if it's missing. So for our content, or for the string that will be returned in place of the variable for body font, we want Open Sans, and Google will do the rest of the work. Now, the next option for our select body font will be Merriweather, like so. And again, the title is the same, Merriweather. And then finally, EXO, or like so, and like so. Now, just to clarify, these two don't have to match. So, for instance, like the demo or the example on the documentation, if, for instance, say we wanted to have a layout, we could have the title as one column, but the content is small. So these two don't have to link. This title is merely for presentation. Okay, so that's the meta tag set up for the select body font. Now what we need to do is we need to include the select variable for the body font. So as I said before, what we're going to do is we're going to replace this word here, Open Sans, or these words here, Open Sans, with this variable. So again, tell it to select and then tell it the name is body font. Now notice how we've gone back to the spacing between the two words. It's probably not a good idea that it's rat, but as you can see, we've gone back to the spacing there. Now, again, the Boolean or the ifs or the checkboxes are the only ones that need the spaces removing because it's a block. So blocks don't support spacing in the name. So that's the variable now included in our link to Google Web Fonts. And then finally, we just need to include it in the body on the font family, like so. Okay, so I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it into the built-in HTML editor. Okay, now what I'm going to do is just make sure that everything's linked up correctly. And as you can see now, we've got this select, or drop down as Tumblr calls it, and it's defaulted to Open Sans. Now I believe it'll always default to the first option, or the first meta tag you define for your select. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select Merriweather, and hopefully this body text should change to Merriweather, and as you can see it has done. And then finally, EXO. Okay, so there you can see now that this body font select is now working as intended. Now, what I want to do is I want to create the select list or the select menu for our heading. And again, it's the same exercise. Meta name equals select. And I'm going to call this heading font or font, heading font, like so. And again, just leave the content blank for the time being. And the title again is blank, like so. I'm going to take that. And then I'm just going to go back to my little list. So the first one will be the font family that we're using throughout the theme. So Montserrat, then Droid Serif, like so. And again, we can omit the plus sign and just use a space. And then finally, EXO, like so. And then the same again, we need to replace this here with the select. And then we're going to do heading font. Okay, so that's the heading font there. And now what we want to do is we need to go through the rest of the CSS where we define this heading font being used and replace it. Just from reference, I know this is going to be in multiple places, so let's do a find and replace. As you can see, it's already in there. So replace that. So let's just go up to the top here. Let's find it. Replace, 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 replace. And again, just go to the top of your document and make sure you've replaced all them. Again, you don't want to replace the meta, so ignore that, replace that, and there we're done. And then let's copy that, put it into our dashboard. As a side note, it's worth mentioning that to see the changes on the theme in the theme preview, you only have to click Update Preview. To see the changes live on your site, you have to click the Save button, and they'll take a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes to trickle over to your live site. So as we scroll down now, as you can see now, we've got body and heading. So let's choose the Droid Serif. And as you can see now, Droid Serif is now being used instead of our Montserrat font. And then let's pick Merriweather. So as you can see now, all of our text has been updated to these two fonts. When we click Save, and this is the live site. And as you can see, that's been passed over to the live site. And everything has been changed. Now, this is one way of dealing with a font foundry or a place where you get web fonts from. The way I currently do it is I actually use the text appearance options. And what I allow the user to do is I allow the user to type in a name of the font family they want to use. Now, I'm not actually decided on which is the best way to do this. Now, choice is great, and choice works out really well because at the end of the day, Google Web Fonts is only going to get bigger and bigger. So giving the user all of them fonts to use is a really good idea. However, it does come with some downsides. The first being the user being overwhelmed. There are that many font choices that the user might not be able to pair up two fonts, so a heading or a body font. Secondly, they may use a font that is just really, really heavy and expensive to download for a mobile device. I haven't used the select idea before, but I actually quite like it because it allows the designer to create different sets of headings or different pairings of fonts and headings, body fonts and heading fonts, and then give the user the option to pick any of them sets. So you could ideally just list these. So you could do 1, 2, 3, and then you could link them here going 1, 2, 3. So it's up to you. If you were feeling really fancy, you could actually enable a simple and advanced mode for fonts. So the simple mode could just be a drop down which paired fonts together. And then the advanced mode would actually allow the user to input a font family name into a text appearance option. But that's something that will be covered, or it's something to think about on another day. So that is how we use the select appearance option with our theme. And that pretty much wraps up everything for this episode. In the next episode, we'll be taking a very brief look at how the text appearance options work. We won't be covering the font appearance options, as I said, because this theme uses Google Web Fonts, and we've briefly covered it. After that, what we'll be doing is we'll be wrapping up any little bits and pieces that we've missed, and we'll be reviewing the entire series. And then finally, I'm hoping to do a couple of bonus videos where I'll add a couple of extra features to our theme. So again, thank you for joining me for this video, and I do hope you'll join me in the next one.